little, but I've got a big mouth, so I think we'll be okay. And I've got to be honest as well, I haven't done these things in so long. I've been in the industry 25 years, done all the things that we're seeing lots of people do today, judging, talking on stages, going to in-person events, and I stopped doing that a few years ago. Before I stopped doing it, I was actually sending some of my key members of staff, my head of education and things like that. So what I've done actually on the train here, because I'm from Bournemouth, is I rustled through my bag and I found an old receipt. And I thought, I'm just going to write a few notes just to kind of, I come with a lot. I've done a lot in 25 years. So I wanted to make sure I didn't forget some of these key things here. So I've been asked to talk about multiple streams of income. I just want to find out in the room, is everybody in beauty, or is there, I think there was finance, what industries are we looking at here?
I work outside of my life, I work in wealth management.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm doing wealth and coaching.
Okay, coaching.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whole story.
Okay.
I'm not from the beauty.
No, that's good to know. And I'm happy about that actually, because 25 years ago, just over 25 years ago, I opened my first business, which was a salon. And I won't bore you with all the details, but I was very young, I was a teenager, from a very, very strict Arab household. Had a secret boyfriend, dad found out, put me on a plane, sent me to Syria, lived with my uncle for 4.5 months. That's another story. So I come back and I'm like, I need to make sure when I come back, and now I'm 19, I need to do something for myself. I need to stand up on my own 2 feet. My dad was very much, you're a girl, you're going to marry someone, you're going to hopefully marry someone rich, they're going to look after you, you're going to provide them with babies and cook Arabic dinners. That was my future as far as my dad's concerned. As it turns out, I'm one of 11. I have 8 brothers, 2 sisters, same mum and dad. I'm the second, and I'm by far the richest. I am my dad's richest son. So, my talk today is about multiple streams of beauty income, but also other streams of income. So, I wrote a few notes here, and I wanted to talk so I could be really tangible with you, because I really want to hold on to the word income. And I broke it down into different little categories. So the first thing I want to talk about is cash flow income. So cash flow income is basically now money. Money that you are going to work, and at the end of the month you're going to pay yourself a little something. That is money that you still need, you of course need it, it's your primary income, and it's what's going to ultimately fund your next level. So we all start with a income of cash flow, okay? But that's not enough for us, because to do that, we literally are exchanging our time for money. And that is not the world that we are in now, okay? I want to talk about my receipts. I think receipts are really important when we're sharing stories, and rather than me just standing here saying, I've done this, I've done that, and obviously none of you know me from Adam, so everything I say to you, I'm going to give you a little example of real life, as in my life. So I opened my salon at 19. And I was 5 years in, and I was already thinking, this is not enough money for me. So I stepped into the education space. I turned my knowledge into my second stream of income. So my first income stream was being sat at a nail desk or at a couch waxing, and I loved my clients and I loved my teams and I was very good at what I did, but it wasn't giving me enough money. It was like profit here, passion here, and I wanted it to be profit before passion, if I'm being totally honest with you. So I stepped into what is known today as the one-to-many model, where I was leveraging what I knew and not what I was doing. And that was when I started teaching. My company, Beauty Boss, which has 3 different profit centres, Beauty Boss Academy, Beauty Business Academy, and Beauty Boss Headquarters, I started in 2005. I had to think for a minute there. So we turned 20 years just September. So during that time, obviously I started training. That's where I go from the one to many. So now I'm sat with 8 women at any one time that are paying me, versus what was happening before. I was getting paid 1 person at a time. I scaled that training company. I'm from Bournemouth, so my first one was based in Bournemouth. I opened my second one in Liverpool, opened my third one in Scotland. I then started running trainer-trainer events. I did it for about 12, 13 years where I was teaching others how to teach. At the peak of my training and the scaling of my training business, I had 37 independent educators that were all out there teaching my methods, teaching my courses and selling my kits. Income stream number 3, kits, distribution. So I start knocking on the doors of some of the world's biggest brands actually, contacting them in America. Internet was very early, this is pre-Facebook, and I got a call back. And I won't bore you with that story because it's quite a long story, but I then started importing one of the world's biggest professional nail brands. That then took me to a whole other level. I was getting really, really big in the distribution business model, which is not very glamorous at all. It sounds glamorous, but it's really not. So that was another income stream. And the reason I'm telling you this is because what my message really is for you ladies, when it comes to multiple streams of income, especially in today's world, what I did 20 years ago, I'm not too sure whether it can be done today because the world's a different landscape, business is a different landscape right now. But I would definitely suggest that you choose one as a primary income, so that's your cash flow income. Then think about how you're going to step into that second stream of income, which is known as the leverage income. Okay, so the leverage income is based on what you know, not what you do. Okay, so people are paying you for your mind, for your knowledge, and your experience, not for your hands. Okay? And then I took it that bit further because I went into product distribution. I learned from the big boys. Once I learned from them, evidence, okay? Obviously I didn't get to know all the ins and outs because I was just importing and distributing. I was attending the biggest conferences in the world. I was flying all around the world. I was really learning from the best in the business, and then I started manufacturing my own. So I started with my first brand called Exposed Spray Tan. I turned down a 6-figure deal. 4 months later, because I turned that deal down by the nail brand who wanted to buy it off me, they terminated my contract. And it was, at that time, a devastating thing to happen because I'm thinking, oh my God, I have a huge warehouse, I have full-time employed, this is the old business, so everyone's employed. So I have big offices, I've got my customer care centre, I've got all my educators, my head of education, my full-time marketer, my full-time graphic designer. I've got a lot of staff relying on me. I'm about to let everyone lose their job. Like, it was a scary time. Until I got busy on the internet, looked at other brands that I could replace to import so I could keep my nail part of the business. And then I started manufacturing another brand. I then launched Lash Envy, that then grew to a sister brand called Brow Envy. And then my third sister brand of the Envy brand was Lip Envy in 2019. That was so big, that made so much money, like literally overnight, but it then crashed out. It was a bit of a fad actually. So that's something that I'm gonna leave there. So we just discussed cash flow income and we've talked leverage income, so education. Then my little story there was then going into another income stream with product formulation and product distribution. I'm now going to talk about asset income. Now, asset income, you split into 2 sections. You have digital and you have physical. So we've all heard of digital assets. I know that this lovely lady was talking about digital assets a minute ago. So digital assets is usually, they say, something you create and then you sell in your sleep, or something that can be passive or semi-passive. I actually hate the word passive. I much prefer planned or prepared, because I think if you prepare something and plan something properly and it's secured and built with systems, it can be passive, it can be semi-passive, but I think because things often need replacing and going back to, especially if you're a good business owner, don't create something, put it out there and think it's going to make you millions. It's not. You have to go back, you have to refine, update, etc., etc. But the world of digital, for any of you that hasn't stepped into the online space, that hasn't transferred their skills into the online, it's not a case of why it's a case of when, because I do believe everybody will eventually be online. So it's a case of, are you going to be the first or are you going to be the last? So in 2019, bearing in mind I was already a course creator and an educator and I've got all my training academies, I actually moved myself to Marbella. So I was living in Spain. Whilst the company was operating in the UK, I moved to Marbella. 3.5 years later, we had COVID in 2020. However, in 2019, purely for supply and demand, I went online. We had people in Canada, America, everyone literally banging down our doors to get my Lip Envy brand online. So that was why I went online in 2019, and that absolutely changed the game for me. What I started doing actually as a result, and kind of coming back to what this lady said before about thinking about your goals. I'm actually going to touch on goals a little minute because I have a really big year next year. 2026 is a very big year for me, and I already claimed it 5 years ago. When I moved back to the UK, which I moved back because my mother-in-law was diagnosed with dementia, I had a 5-year plan. I said to my husband, if we go back, then we go back and we go back big. Like, I'm a doer, and I love money, and I'm very good at making it. So I was like, if we're gonna go back, we have to do something that is gonna make us go big or we go home. So I kept my property in Spain. I bought another property in Bournemouth. And I'm just going to say as well for receipts, because we know how everything is so like blurred online and what we hear. My husband works for me. So the reason I say that, he is the best. I've been with him nearly 20 years. It's amazing. But I say that because people are always like, where does the husband come into all of this? And I feel like sometimes it's got to be said because we don't get the full story of people sometimes. So we moved back because mother-in-law got dementia, and I wasn't happy about it. I've got 3 children in school, in the Spanish system, now speaking fluent Spanish. I loved my lifestyle. And I was a little bit like, fuck's sake, excuse the language. I was a bit like, really? Got to go back to England? So I did it, of course. But also I was dealing with the impact of COVID. I made some redundancies. I shut down my Liverpool store. We just gave all of our northern customers an amazing discount and moved them all online. Like, it was fine, but it was a transition. During that time, obviously I've already launched my first online course. I was one of the first in the UK to go online in the beauty industry. And as a result, I started teaching others how to then create their first digital asset. I started with a completely free of charge program called Lockdown with Layla. And then I stepped into the role of mentoring and coaching by demand. Absolutely not by choice. It was a case of the world reopening and then people saying, are you going to leave us now? And I was like, well, I can stick around. And then I launched 2 memberships, a mentoring and coaching company, and that was the birth of the Business Academy, the Beauty Boss Business Academy. So digital, I cannot stress enough to you ladies, how much money there is circulating around this world right now. Like, too much. Like, if that's even such a thing. There is so much money for everybody. There's so many people and enough people for everybody. And the other thing is, just so you don't get it twisted, you don't have to teach everyone, or you don't have to onboard, whether it's a coach, an educator, your next consultant client. You're not there to serve everyone. Just the average number of people in a room, just 15, 20 people would be very, very lucrative. I digress. I'm going to keep going about my multiple streams of income, what I've been asked to talk about. So digital assets, if we're going to talk about income online, I teach something called the staircase. It is a stream stacking process. So think about what you do right now, what you're known for, is usually what you're most comfortable in. Think of one part of that thing, that process, that you can make your own into your own signature method and teach it. Leverage your information. And then from that, turn that into a digital asset. Secure that with automations and AI and all the amazing tools that you guys have got around you now that I never had. Like, I know obviously in my intro when we talked about that biggest year I had, 7.3 million. Instagram wasn't even a thing, it wasn't even invented. And I can talk about that, and maybe I will another time. But I'm actually going to talk about the physical assets now. When you build wealth, and I mean real wealth, when you build real money, when you have £1 million in the bank, when you open your Coots account, which you have to do by showing, I know you're smiling at me like, yeah, yeah, you need to open a Coots account with £1 million, and then you have to pay £300 a month to keep it open. So when you open your Coots, when you're making big life changes like this, the next smartest thing to do is to turn that wealth into physical assets in property. So when I talked a minute ago about coming back to England and going big, I bought a hotel. As you do, as you do. And that was because the boom of Airbnb had just started. I don't know if you remember COVID, like everyone was like Airbnb-ing and they were calling it staycations. And I was like, what is this? And I just bought a house back in the UK, and my friend came round. I bought this house very strategically, I've got to tell you. I'd never want my children to ever leave me. So I'm looking at this house and I'm like, right, this house comes with an annex. It's got a 2-bedroom annex, it's got its own front door, its own back door, its own drive. I'm going to choose this house when my kids want to leave me, they can move next door and they're still here with mummy. So I bought that house. My friend comes along and she goes, Layla, the kitchen of your annex is bigger than the one in my house. And I was like, right, okay. And she said, what are you going to do with it? And I said, I don't know, nothing. She said, you need to stick it on Airbnb. And I was like, I can't be bothered with that. Cannot be asked with that. Ended up paying my sister Jenna to put it on Airbnb. Put it on Airbnb, and this was just as the Airbnb boom was kind of coming down because I was moving back from Spain. And I was netting 4K profit a month, which might not sound like a lot of money, but it's 4K for nothing. It was a space attached to my house that I wasn't going to do anything with. Bearing in mind I still have my house in Marbella. So obviously I'm like, okay, I'm really interested now in this business model. So I go back to Spain and I spend 6 weeks back in Spain with my kids. My husband hates Spain in the summer because it's really hot. So I said, you know what, hun, you go to your mum and dad. I'm going to put the house on Airbnb. And he said, what the hell? You're going to put our house on Airbnb? And I said, yeah. There's nothing of any real, like, anything that's worth, like, my baby boxes. They're all in my house in Spain, the baby tea, the wedding album. You know, I never made it a real home. I didn't rip out the kitchen yet because we'd not long moved back. So I put it on Airbnb. 6 weeks, I netted 19K profit. And I was like, right, this is a model I need to know more about. Bearing in mind, I'm already 20 years in my stream stacking, okay? And I really just want to call that, by the way, like, let's not compare someone's year 1 to someone's year 20. It's very different, just to be real with everybody. So what I did is I bought a hotel. I thought I could either go and buy another property and do what I've just learned with that little Airbnb attached to my house, the annex, or I could buy a small hotel and turn it all into Airbnbs that way. And that's what I did. So I bought a boutique hotel, 10 rooms, 10 units. Ground floor, I gutted it, added 2 apartments, added just over 250,000 to the value of the building as well. So not only did I add, money to the value of the property itself, but I also added an extra 2 units. That then got me going into buying more. So now I have a total of 15 rental incomes in the winter, and obviously Airbnbs in the summer. I tell you this not to ego, not like I don't know anybody. This is to show you that this is possible for you. I came from no money. I came from a very strict dad. This is about if you want money and if you really want to design your future, because our life is totally by design, then you have to really think about what you want and reverse engineer. I could never have bought my hotel if I had not gone into distribution. I wouldn't have probably gone into distribution if I hadn't been a trainer. You see, so everything kind of moves and connects to the next chapter. So I really just wanted to share that with you because my story and my topic was about multiple streams of income. And I hope that's inspired you to know that we don't have to work by the standards of our family members or our best friends. You know, I don't know if you've ever heard of the saying, you need to separate to elevate. Separate.
Yeah.
Bye girls, bye huns. Like if that's what you've got to do to get the second house, the dream car, whatever it is, I'm in a different place now. For me, it's about time. I'm very, very about time right now. I'm definitely in my soft, you called it soft girl.
Soft life.
Yeah. I've been in my hustle, don't get me wrong. But yeah. So I hope that helps and inspires you ladies. Just my little story about multiple streams of income.